Tapwe. Omagawi papikshwan nga nêhiyawan igumin gagayashiman. I'll talk Cree and I'll talk English. A lot of these places, they have names in Cree from long ago that a lot of people will not even remember today. Long ago, the old people would remember them and they'd know these places if they're mentioned because of things that took place there and relayed to all the different people as in the visiting and the meeting of the camps and the villages as they traveled. I guess I'll go back over here to, there's with Ahtahkakoop and his people. They got last buffalo hunt here. That happened would have been about 1880, maybe 1885, after a treaty had been made. They found a herd of buffalo here just on the opposite side of the river from Langam, north of Saskatchewan, in this area right here. A fellow, one of Ahtahkakoop's people found about 60 head of buffalo. And he came in there, and he went back all the way to where Ahtahkakoop Reserve is now, and then rounded up all the hunters, and they came back in, and they got those buffalo. They got about 20, 25 buffalo out of the 60. The others got away, so wherever they got away to, that's down the river somewhere, up the river. Pasquale Wustashuk, the last buffalo hunt of Ahtahkakoop. Ahtahkakoop's people, yeah. That would have been about 1885, 1880 to 1885, about some years after Treaty 6 was made at Fort Carleton. Ahenakew.
How would you name that place in your Cree language?
Oh, nêhiyawak, Saskatchewan. The big curve of the river. Nêhiyawak. Yeah. That's the name of that area. Nêhiyawak, Saskatchewan. Yeah. The big curve of the river, Saskatchewan River. Yeah. Okay, and from there, I'm going to go over here. Now, this is where Ahtahkakoop's people used to be. This is the area that they frequented. Oh, no, over here. Over this area here. Bigger. This location here, bigger. But only thing it was south of Bigger. You see, these lakes here are called Wapastimganipot, where the white horse stands. Wapastimganipot. Yeah, he stands in the water. He actually, that's where they'd see that white horse.
Stands in the water.
Wapastimganipot. That's what it's known as, yeah. So then further up here are these hills. Where's the hills that go up? Where's the hills? Are these the hills here starting?
Drop out a little bit.
Ah?
Yeah. Let her change the extent a little bit.
Okay.
So you can see.
Wapastimganipot. Okay. Okay, there's Bigger. And where's them hills? Right here, about 20 miles south west of Bigger. And the highway comes by where that Wapastimganipot. But in that area further up there, about 20 miles southwest of Bigger, there's the hills start there. And they're called Kaskiskawan Atinawa. Kaskiskawan is Buffalo Hump. Kaskiskawan Atinawa. So Buffalo Hump Hills. And that's where Ahtahkakoop and his people lived. They loved to live in that area. Lots of buffalo in the whole area. And over further to the east, further to the east, over here, there was a place about equal in distance from bigger, equal in distance from bigger, further to the east, but not that far. There was a place called there, Ahtahkakoop, choke cherry bush. Nothing but choke cherries, big bush area. Yeah. So between the Buffalo Hump Hills, and choke cherry bush, they had lots of buffalo meat.
In here,
Yeah.
Down in
Like here was the Buffalo Hump Hills, and over here was the choke cherry bush. Yeah. And between those two, that's what people made pemmican. Pemmican.
So choke cherry bush.
So they had lots to survive on. They had a lot of buffalo meat and they had a lot of choke cherries to make their pemmican. And that's the area that they frequented. And then from there that Mr. Washes was on this side. Chief Mr. Washes. And where is, like this is Harris. Mr. Washes would be in this area. Miksupasquaw. Miksupasquaw is the Bald Eagle Plains. Miksusipis, there's a creek here called Miksusipis. And it goes all the way into the Saskatchewan River over there to the Langam area. Yeah. The Miksupasquaw. And that was the summer range of Mr. Washes and his people, and Ahtahkakoop was further west. But winter time, Ahtahkakoop would be on the west side of the Saskatchewan River, South Saskatchewan. And Mr. Washes would be over here in this Dundurn area, towards the river.
Winter camp, Mr. Wasses.
Yeah, winter camp. Kabuswatikoskag. The Moose Woods. Moose Woods country. I think the Sioux have a reserve there today now where that casino is there. That was Mr. Wasses' winter camp area. Ahtahkakoop would be on the west side.
Ahtahkakoop's winter camp
Yeah.
would be over here.
Yeah, on the west side of there. The only time that Ahtahkakoop would go north was when in the winter they'd find early winter or early towards spring, if they found tracks of strange people that they didn't recognize. Somewhere around there. And then they'd move north across the river over here to Red Berry Lake on the southwest side. There's steep cliffs here, like a horseshoe, like that, a horseshoe. And then there's ground before the water, Red Berry Lake. Miko mid Sagaigan.
This is their spring place, huh?
No.
No.
This is a place when they found strange tracks for not too far, striking distance of the Blackfoot warrior or a warrior bunch. That he'd move his people here. North, Ahtahkakoop, yeah.
This was a safe place?
A safe haven, yeah. A horseshoe, big, steep cliffs here on the west side. And that's where they'd set up their village on the southwest side of this Red Berry Lake. Radish, I think, what's the name of the town here, not too far away today? Hafford, yeah. This area here is where they set up. So that's where if those Blackfeet sensed with their scouts. Yeah. Miko min Sagaigan. So Red Berry Lake has carried on the name in English of the Cree, what the Cree called it. And there was never really any fish in there. There was no fish in there, but They lived off, of course, their buffalo meat, the pimikan that they'd make from over here. So out of the Battleford tribes, we were the most southernmost bunch out of the Battleford bunch. Red pheasant would always be around this area. Mixoachia. Mistoasis was always to the east here on the Mixopasquale. These other ones, of course, were up this way, to the west.
Which ones?
That would be Sweetgrass, Poundmaker. Well, Poundmaker to begin with was a headman for red pheasant, so he would have been in the Eagle Hills area with red pheasant.
Did you already point to the Eagle Hills?
Yeah.
That's them.
Mixoachia. They're right, this area right here. Yeah. Mixoachia. Eagle Hills. But that's today, but the Eagle Hills proper starts all the way from almost where Saskatoon. Saskatoon all the way along the river, all the way to Lloydminster, Pimtasqueak. The Eagle Hills are all the hills in here.
Sorry, what is Pimtasqueak?
Pimtasqueak is Lloydminster. That's where the trees grow along the side.
Trees growing along the side.
Yeah,
Pimtasqueak.
Pimtasqueak, yeah. There's a bush that grows all along the side. Pimtasqueak.
If you would drop one on Lloydminster, trees growing along the side.
Yeah, Pimtasqueak.
Hey.
Okay. Then you go over here. Here was the fort. Wasagaigan. Wasagaigan. Wasagaigan is a fort. Today people call them Waskaigan. But Wasagaigan is the posts going around in a circle or a square. And that was a fort, Wasagaigan. But today people have shortened it to Waskaigan, a house. It's not a house, it's a fort, Wasagaigan. And that's where Ahtahkakoop and his people, Mistoasis and red pheasant, Mikupi Hill, they were asking for Ahtahkakoop and his people to come there. They wanted to meet. The chiefs wanted to meet with Chief Ahtahkakoop. And the old Wasagaigan, the fort, when they came north, but they had already had a meeting that they were going to move Kiwetidok, Natagam. Natagam means to the waters. They were going to move there, but they stopped in at the fort. This would have been about 6 years before treaty, 1870. And that's where they stopped and met with Chief Mistoasis and Chief Mikupi Hill, red pheasant. And they wanted to, the two other chiefs here wanted 3 reserves together by the old fort along the Battle River and the North Saskatchewan towards the Eagle Hills. That's where they wanted 3 reserves to sit together. And Chief Ahtahkakoop told him he couldn't do that because his people had already committed. He had already committed to his people that they were going to find a Sagaigan, a lake to the north, somewhere in the north country, because the buffalo were disappearing, and maybe the young ones would have to eat fish into the future to survive. So we had to find a place where there's a fish in a lake. Was his opinion. And why that happened before treaty was Chief Mistoasis and Red Pheasant and Chief Ahtahkakoop had sat together somewhere in this vicinity, and they had sent Ahtahkakoop's youngest brother, Napeskis, they had sent him east to scout out whether it was true what all the Wasagaigan people were saying, the fort. Fort people what they were saying, that there was more
The
people
Munio
coming. Monia was coming, more and more. So that's what they sent him east for. And Napeskish agreed, and he did do it. And he ended up in Montreal. Montreal. Yeah, he ended up in Montreal, and he was scouting the St. Lawrence River, scouting the lakes as he went. And he ended up in Montreal. And how we know that is he saved an Ogimau's daughter from a runaway team in front of a hotel, like an amazing 4-story hotel that was built already in Montreal. And a runaway team of horses, like about six horses, two, and two, you know. The team ran away and all, and nobody did anything except him. He was the only one who jumped on the carriage and then jumped from horses to horses to stop the lead horse and save that girl from a wreck or maybe even dying, you know. And then when he took that team back to the front of the hotel, the boss gave him, thanked him up and down, couldn't thank him enough. And he gave him a paper that he carried on him for all the time. And this is from the Hudson Bay. I'm the boss of the Hudson Bay Companies of Canada. This man, and he got his name, Napeskis, was written on there, Napeskis. Gets anything he wants from any of my stores in the forts where we do business. Anything he wants, supply him with anything he wants.
Was it his
This
daughter
is,
who was?
yeah, that was his daughter that was on the runaway team. So Napeskis had this letter that he always carried. And he became a minor chief under his brother.
That's his platinum card.
Yeah, with his platinum card. The Hudson Bay Company owner had given him this card with his name on there. So he'd go to Fort Carlton and he'd get all the stuff he wanted, or any Hudson Bay fort. And there's people that began to follow him as a minor chief. Yeah, Ahtahkakoop's younger brother. Napeskis, by the way, means, people don't even know that too, I guess, today, bedwetter. That was his name. Napeskis, that's what it says in Cree.
Nice.
Okay, all right. Wapastimganipot. Okay, here now. Wapastimganipot, the lakes. I don't know where the lakes are here. But here's Herschel. Okay, that gives us an indication. Okay. Oh, okay. Where are we now?
No. We're back.
Oh, this way.
Yeah.
This way.
Yeah.
Yeah. This here now.
Herschel is here.
Okay, here we are. Yep, bigger to Herschel. On an angle like this, from that Buffalo Hump Hills, which are in here, there's a valley that comes this way. That valley is called y-dialect, the bush that goes far. It's about 60 miles of bush in that valley. y-dialect. The bush that goes far. y-dialect. Okay, and then at the end of that bush over here, before Herschel over here, at the end of that bush, Mistapel ganawachit. Mistapel ganawachit. Where they saw a giant roasting a man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, where they saw a giant roasting a man in here.
Around Herschel.
Close to Herschel, but a bit at the end of that bush. y-dialect.
Not a lot of bush there these days.
In the valley, I don't know. But well, ma mistapel ganawachit. Yeah.
Wow.
And what happened there was they started off from Buffalo Hump Hills on an expedition on foot to Blackfoot Blood Country to go raid horses,
Huh.
a group of them. And when they got towards the end of that bush, they decided to make their first camp there.
Uh-huh.
And in the distance, they saw light, like a fire. So they sent 2 scouts. And those scouts snuck up there, and that's what they saw, was a giant being roasting a man.
Holy.
Yeah. So they came back, and they kicked the buffalo chips. They used to, when they were coming back, the men where they were would set up buffalo chips.
Huh.
And when the men that come back on the scouting would kick the buffalo chips as they came running back, close to camp, and signifying that they were going to tell the truth of their expedition, scouting expedition.
Uh-huh.
So they kicked the buffalo chips and they sat down, then they smoked a pipe on top. And they told the rest of these warriors that were going on the horse raid that we seen a giant, unbelievable.
Uh-huh.
We seen a giant roasting a man. The man, there was a stick through the man, and he was turning that man around on a fire. We don't know who it is or what we saw or whatever, but that's what we saw. So that place became known as nêhiyawêwin, where the giant was roasting a man. So from there, that one who was leading the horse raid party said, that's what's going to happen to us.
Maybe let's not go there.
No, let's not go. Let's shut this down. I'm shutting this down, and we're turning around and going back, because that's not normal what you guys saw.
No.
So that they turned around, they came back, they aborted their horse raid. Yeah. But that place became known as nêhiyawêwin.
Is that a good place for that place?
In here, I would say, where's Buffalo Hump is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, in here.
Okay.
To the end of the
This valley
60-mile
goes
bush, yeah. The valley goes like that, yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
We've got about 5 more minutes. You can give us another. I mean, we could go on for days. I wish we could go on for days.
Oh, we can go on and on, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now here, over here, where's Kiingashini?
Rosetown.
Okay, Rosetown, Kiingashini, Kindersley. Where's Kindersley? Oh, over here. Okay, Kindersley. This is called Kiingashini. There used to be a big stone stick out of the ground there, it was sharp. Kiingashini. Yeah, and then further west, Alsask.
Wait. Let her catch
Oh,
up.
okay. Big stone that used to stick out of the ground, a big stone. Kiingashini. And that's how Kindersley sort of got its name. Kiingashini. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, here's Alsask. Now from Kiingashini, this is the way they'd come on their raid.
The raiding trail.
Yeah, from Ahtahkakoop's bunch, yeah, because they were the southernmost bunch of the Battleford area. Okay, where are we?
Is that a good way to call that? Raiding trail? I don't want to put any words in your mouth.
Yeah, it could be called that. Friendship trail.
The friendship trail. We're going to go meet people and
Okay. Now, where are we here again?
Hey, yes.
I don't want to interrupt you, but Barry has until 3.
No kidding, really? We're going till 3 o'clock today.
Okay.
Holy mackerel.
Sorry, it's not 3, sorry, 2. Wait.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, 2, sorry.
Wonderful.
So we still have, like another maybe 20, 25 minutes, and if you want to have a little Q&A after.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, from all the way here now, at the border, what's Alberta, Saskatchewan border now? There's hills here, right from Leader. Where's Leader? Okay, Leader. Leader? Okay, there's Leader, yeah, okay. Oh, that's the last.
There it is.
Leader, all the way to the Alsask. Okay, but along the border here, there's hills there. They're called Ahtahkakoop. Ginepigoskuansa, snake nose hills. Like they're little, just like snouts, just like snake nose hills. All the way from Leader.
From here, this way.
Yeah, towards Alsask. Yeah, right here.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snake Nose Hills, all the way north.
Yeah.
There's 3 bigger hills over here. That one hill is called Ahenakew. Old people knew that hill as Ahenakew. South of Alsask, the north end of the Snake Nose Hills, there's 3 big hills. And they're known as, one of them is known as Ahenakew. And that's where our great-great-great-grandfather, Crow Blanket, jumped off the horse on top of the hill to rest his leg because he had been wounded with an arrow in the knee. And he jumped off. All the rest of the guys were down the hill already with all the horses that they had raided. But he jumped off to rest his leg on top of the hill there. And some of the guys at the bottom said, hey, Nagio. Oh, he stopped. And they turned around and rode back up the hill while the others kept chasing the horses. They were heading back to Buffalo Hump Hills. So they rode back up the hill and they said, hurry up, get on your horse. See that dust in the distance over here towards the southwest? You can see dust coming.
Those are the nice people we met when we were on the Friendship Trail.
Yeah, there was the Blackfeet were chasing them. The Blackfeet were chasing them now because all the horses they'd lost, they wanted to get their horses back. That they borrowed.
Yeah.
So anyway, they were coming and they could see the dust in the distance from the top of that hill. And they told them, look at the dust, jump on your horse, we better get going. So they helped him on the horse, and then they rode back to Buffalo Hump Hills.
Okay, good.
Yeah, chasing all the horses. They were behind, but they got there. And when they got there, they had a victory dance because nobody had been killed. He was wounded, our great-great-grandfather, in the knee with an arrow. Yeah. So they used to Ahtahkakoop. Ahtahkakoop means they'd stop the ceremony and they'd have a warrior get up and tell, that was on the trip, tell a story that he thought was significant about the trip. So that's what they were doing. They'd stop the dance and then the warrior would get up and talk about it. So these 2 warriors got up and they said, Crow Blanket was on top of the hill, he had jumped off his horse, and when we stopped to look back and we said, hi, Nagio. And then, we said, we rode back. And we got him and we on his horse and we come back and we brought him back. So people began to say, hi, Nagio. Instead of Crow Blanket, Ahtahkakoop, they began to call him, hi, Nagio. And that's how we ended up with Ahenakew, the name. That's how we ended up with that name. Ahenakew. So in a way, Limping Man's Stop is the name of that hill. Ahenakew. Now, old people from all over the place knew that hill as that. Ahenakew. Limping Man's Stop. So Snake Nose Hills. Okay, and then you go from there. You go over here. Where's Wainwright, Alberta? I don't know.
Drop out a little bit.
Now I'm lost down here.
That's all right. There you go. We'll get you.
Wainwright, Alberta. Okay, it'd be this way. Macklin, there's Macklin, yeah. Meetaskow, Wainwright. Dunes. Wainwright, where it is now, this area is Miskishigoa, I Hills.
Did you get it? I don't think it was, yeah.
I Hills. I, like I, eyes. Yep. Yeah.
How does it come to have that name? You know?
They used to be watching each other because the Blackfeet were trying to still control a lot of this country,
Oh yeah.
and the Crees were moving in.
Mm-hmm.
They were breaking the peace. The Crees were one group of the Crees. They were known as nêhiyawêwin,
That's the way wheels. The arrow people.
arrow makers.
Oh.
They were known. They were the ones breaking the peace,
Uh-huh.
and this is where they would travel. And the eye hills. This is an area where, like, there was eyes all over the place. The Crees were busy looking out for the Blackfeet, and the Blackfeet were busy looking out for the Crees.
That's the Wawewin are the Touchwood peoples now today, huh?
Some of them.
Some of them.
That's the way we will check. Okay, now well, let's go to Elbow.
Elbow's down here.
Oh, no, over here.
Elbow.
Oh, okay, I'm traveling too far here. Okay, Elbow, yeah, Saskatoon. Ahtahkakoop. See this? That's Ahtahkakoop. That means elbow, and that's what it was always called. Ahtahkakoop. Ahtahkakoop. Elbow. And up here a little ways was Mistashini, what people called Mistashini, but we called it, our ancestors called it Mustoshawasis, Buffalo Child Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Mustoshawasis.
Can you drop another one for that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, if you're touching, she can't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right up in, it was right in the valley. Mustoshawasis. See, this is before this lake, eh?
Yeah.
This creek that flew out of here was called Gatitipitchwak. That turn, river, the creek that turns. Gatitipitchwak, sheepies.
Is that the Capel?
Yes, that's the beginning of the Cabell. That's what it was called. Gatitipitchwak. Yeah, right there.
This one coming here.
No, a little one right here,
Oh, just here.
because there was no water here except
Right.
for the creek.
Yeah. Oh, huh. Okay.
Yeah, and that's where the stone sat, Buffalo Child.
Where do you reckon that stone was actually? It wasn't in the lake, just here. Where was
There
it?
was no lake there.
Right. Sure.
It
Where?
was just a creek.
Do you have a sense of where that Buffalo Child rock is?
Yeah,
Would it
it was been about 3 miles, 4 miles up from the elbow. Yeah, this way. Yeah.
Try and pull that up if you can.
Yeah, it'd be more in the middle. It'd be more on this side.
See, you knew.
On this side,
Amazing. Good.
yeah, that's where about it be, because on this side, over there they got Mistashini. Okay, this you've got it. That means big stone, yeah, Mistashini. Now let's move this way a little bit. See if there's a. See, it might have been here. And this area, these hills here are called Kaskiskawan. Just plain Kaskiskawan. Buffalo Hump. That's what it's called. Over here is Kaskiskawan at Tinawa, Buffalo Hump Hills. This one is called Kaskiskawan. Yeah. This is where Ahtahkakoop and his people would camp. Mr. Oasis and his people would camp.
Oh yeah.
And then there was nothing but like 6 to 7 miles of nothing but teepee on top of the valley, in the valley, and on the opposite side of the valley.
See, Touchwood Hills people say that was a place where they would go often in the fall.
That's where,
Is that a fall
in the
gathering?
spring.
In the spring, no kidding.
This is where they gathered. This was the Cree gathering spot. And that's where they all stayed. Like Ahtahkakoop would be over here.
Okay.
Yeah, they all had their. Sometimes those 4, 5 sun dances when the leaves were the size of a dime or a bit bigger, they'd gather here. And they'd have their sun dances, and they'd meet, and they'd talk about all the experiences of the tribes from the Collig River people, which is now Broadview area. Katepwo Shipiwinok. Katepwo Shipiwinok. And then further onto the, like coming west, the Fort Capel area, and north, and then south, all the way into the Missouri River, Piganoshipi. That was all now Plains people. There was an Eastern Plains people. The head chief was Chimaskus. And Chimaskus was the father of Pepegishis. He was the head chief of all the chiefs in there. And just to give you an idea of how many people that followed these head chiefs, he never had less than 300 lodges. Chimaskus.
Where was he from? Sorry? He was from over here?
The Fort Capel area on the other side, all the way to south to the Missouri River.
Oh, down here.
Yeah, and all the way to Moose Jaw area and then north. And then Last Mountain Lake,
Yeah.
Squatchwachi. And then over to the north again of like Ituna, that area.
Uh-huh.
That was his area. He was the head chief
Oh, wow.
of all the chiefs. And then further west from Moose Jaw, the head chief was nêhiyawak. Now nêhiyawak was the uncle of Piapot.
Uh-huh.
Piapot took over when nêhiyawak died.
Oh.
And over there, Chimaskus, when he died about a year before 1874. Treaty 4, and his brother took over.
Uh-huh.
Buffalo bow, or good with a bow, Kanahachapel.
Ahtahkakoop.
Yeah,
Oh.
or
I'd like to know about it.
Kabustashwachapel.
Can you tell me?
Took over
Uh-huh.
as chief. Yeah,
Ahtahkakoop.
yeah. I guess there I could say there's a reserve here.
Yep, up at the top.
There's a reserve here. It starts from, here's they call Pusaganachi this whole area.
Uh-huh. Yep.
That means poplar tree fungus, Pusaganachi.
Uh-huh.
Pusaganachi, poplar tree fungus area. In a lot of poplar trees with that fungus.
Yep.
Pusagana. But over here, these hills are lakes are called Maniguanani, where they took where they took the feathers from along the shore. And then Maniguananis, the smaller version of where they take the feathers from along the shore. Now, long ago, this was again, buffalo bow, but Chimaskus before that. They loved this area.
Uh-huh.
And over here, Panichai, you've got Gordon's Reserve.
Yep.
They formed a reserve there.
Yep.
And that's Kshiputnak, end of the hills.
Yep. Sorry.
Kshiputnak. Then over here you got Soto people, Muskogwan, Strongquill.
Uh-huh.
And then over here was Kawakatus, ended up here.
Uh-huh.
And then Daystar, following Kawakatus, Daystar ended up here. Daystar was really Willow Cree, Paskokopawinok. That's like Beardies and
Yeah.
One Arrow.
Uh-huh.
That's Daystar. That's
Daystar.
really where they came from in their journey, and then ended up following Kawakatus, and then ended up staying as a separate people, but staying close to Kawakatus.
Uh-huh.
And they ended up like Daystar. Okay, right here.
Here's Daystar, I think.
Okay, and from there, from Daystar, there was one large reservation, all the way to the
The lakes.
Wynyard. Where's Wynyard? Okay, all the way to Wynyard, there was a large reservation here, large, and that was called Pusaganachi. That is the real Pusaganachi, their land and the reserve.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that was Buffalo Bow.
Uh-huh.
That's the land that they selected. Good with a bow or buffalo bow, either way.
Uh-huh.
That was the big land of Pepegshis, his father.
Yeah.
Pepegshis was not chief yet.
Right.
They made treaty over here. And, when they had such a large following of people, hard to understand how they ended up with a little reserve over here. That's a fishing land. That's land to go fishing at the lake there.
the folks in Coacatus, they tell about an epidemic that
Yes,
occurred.
yes, there was an epidemic.
What do you know about that?
There was a big epidemic, and the people began to get scared, and they began to leave that area.
Right.
And they completely vacated that land.
Uh-huh.
So that reserve still actually exists. It was just vacated because of that
Yeah.
epidemic.
Now, the other aspect of that story is that they placed that reserve over here by Raymore. That's where they, Tom Favel and them, they say that it's on this corner, down here. It's this place, they say, down here. So this is Coacatus.
Yeah.
And that it adjoined on the corner and goes all the way down here because there's good sweet water here. We found this place, eh?
Yeah, I don't dispute that.
No,
But
yeah, okay.
But on a map, an early map that I saw later on, traveling through a little town,
Oh, yeah.
a provincial map that they had from 1911 or 12 or something,
Huh.
it shows the Wynyard area
Okay.
for north of Daystar. And then some other old people, I don't know about those ones
Yeah.
that you mentioned, but some other old guys from Coacatus said it was the Wynyard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The value of maps.
Yeah.
You see
But
that
this,
map?
but this area over here, there was an area called Sugar Hill. I don't know whereabouts
over
it's in here, Sugar Hill.
I bet you it's
Now that was
Last
that was
Mountain.
reserve land too.
That's Last Mountain, isn't it?
A bit of it, close to it, yeah.
Here.
Yeah, Sugar Hill.
Because the sugars are from there.
Yeah, the sugars that are now living
Yeah.
on Pipot are originally from there. Yeah. Shewinigan, yeah.
Shewinigan?
Shewinigan, yeah. Shewiniganak.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's originally their land base, so
Yeah.
it could be tied in with the land there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that part I don't know, but I do know about this, Sugar Hill. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was reserve land, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did see a map on this confirming what those old boys had said at Coacatus long ago, that there had been a big reservation there.
Uh-huh.
And they did mention buffalo bow.
Buffalo bow.
Good with a bow and buffalo bow.
Okay.
Kanahachapel and
Kanahachapel.
Mustashwachapel, yeah.
Mustashwachapel.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So anyway, okay, now I got off track here because Coacatus here was a part of the Ahtahkakoop.
Uh-huh.
And so became Daystar as well. And where that originated from was over here. Again, we get to Elbow.
Oh, yeah.
Elbow, where's Elbow again? Okay, here's Elbow. What happened there was there was a large group of people here that long ago days, I guess the beginning of the Crees coming into the plains, and they were in the Humboldt area to Melfort and to PA and south. Yeah, they were all in that area. Humboldt. Yeah. All and up here. These hills are called Minachinasha. Where's them hills? You can't tell the difference between lake and hills on the map here. Okay, just north of Humboldt, there's a hills there. Minachinasha. Minachinasha means small wooded rolling hills. But they're not small, they're large, you know. They're big hills.
So in here?
Yeah. North of Humboldt.
North of these lakes? Or?
North of Humboldt, where the town of Humboldt now is. There's hills in there, and they're called Minachinasha. And this whole area was a real gathering point of Crees.
Uh-huh.
A real big area of Crees.
Huh. Can you pull that down and put it by Humboldt?
It's not far north of Humboldt. It's only, like in today's terms, it would only be about 10 miles north of Humboldt, yeah. The hills. Minachinasha. And that's these are small wooded rolling hills, but they're still nice big size hills. And then you get to Maple Creek, the Cypress Hills, Minatagawa. Those are big wooded rolling hills. Minatagawa, Cypress Hills. But anyway, we're in this area here, Humboldt. Now, the Crees over here had been going, they'd gather here, and they'd all kinds of wasquay here. Right here, Birch Hills. There was wasquay here. Lots of wasquay.
What's that?
Birch.
Oh.
Ahtahkakoop, birch trees. Birch Hills. And that's where they'd come and they'd make canoes.
Oh.
They'd manigamochik to strip the birch tree, manigamok. Strip the birch tree of the bark. And they'd make their wasquayosha or chimana, whatever you want to call it, canoes. And then they'd take them to the Saskatchewan River. And from there they'd Maamik. They'd go Maamik. There was no trading posts in those days in this area except for Churchill. Churchill they called Montenac. Montenac. Montenac means where the visitors or the visitors are coming. Montenac. Churchill. Yeah. That's where they'd get to Churchill. And that's where the first trading post was for all these people over here. And that's where Churchill River, see, that's where it ends up, I guess.
Where the visitors are coming.
Montenac. Yeah. Montenac. The visitor's place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And why it was that was because all the people that were coming there from inland, but also all the people that were coming in on the ships.
Right.
Montenac. Yeah.
And so then the
And they were trading for all of this. Huh?
The arrow people, the arrow
Not yet.
makers.
Not
Okay.
yet. We're not there yet. So anyway, they're at Montenac.
Yeah.
And then they'd come back, Natimik, come back upriver. And they'd end up over here, back in this Prince Albert area, the Pa, Nipawin. But it wasn't the only ones. The Ayachinok, the strangers, were also coming and making canoes, and they were going down there. They'd go trade over there too.
Oh.
That's what became known as the Blackfeet. They were already over here. They were on the north of the North Saskatchewan, up Prince Albert, and this way, the Lloydminster area. That was their area. So all the Crees were on this side of the South Saskatchewan River. And they'd go trade over here at Montenac. And then at one group of the Wasagaigan, they began to call them Fort people. Wasagaigan, not Waskaigan. Wasagaigan people. There was a large group of Crees. And a part of those Crees began to not want to trade or even start to trade for goods.
Yeah.
And they had gatherings together and they decided to separate. And they from the elbow at the spring gathering, at the Sundance gathering at the elbow. At the elbow, they began to separate from there. And they went west.
Down to
the South Saskatchewan River. And they began to break the peace that had been made with what became known as the Blackfeet.
Oh, okay.
because they had helped, the Crees had helped them, Blackfeet, Ayachinook, the strangers. They had helped them move across the North Saskatchewan River, south, past the Eagle Hills. Before this, they had all come from the east, crossing the river in swerves, and they went into the Eagle Hills and joined the warriors of the strangers, Ayachinook. And then they all started to push south, chased the Kinapaguinook, and they chased them all the way south to nêhiyawak, Great Falls.
Oh.
Yeah.
Great Falls.
They chased the Shoshone, Kinapaguinook, all the way past Great Falls, nêhiyawak, into the mountains. And then they came back, and they all started camping at...
And stay out.
Yeah, and they all started camping at Great Falls area, a big, huge camp of Ayachinook and nêhiyawak, Crees. This river is called Piganusipi, Muddy River. The Ayachinook had one group of their Ayachinook stay there at Great Falls. And those people became known as Piganuinuak, Muddy River people, because of the Muddy River. Piganusipi. Yeah, but they stayed there as to watch that these Shoshone didn't come back out of the mountains and try and claim their lands again. All the way to North Saskatchewan. So from there, the other tribes went north.
We've got 5 minutes left.
From there, the other tribes of their bunch went north. And that became known as Blackfeet proper and Blood tribe.
Oh, yeah.
Bikuinuak, Kaskteoestik. These ones had their name first, the Great Falls area people. Piganuinuak. Okay, from there they began to have their separate name. Over here, now these arrow makers broke the peace that had been set up because these guys had agreed the Eagle Hills all the way from where the Great River flows from, Saskatchewan, north, out of the mountains. That all belonged to the Cree now, and all the land they'd vacated north of the North Saskatchewan was now Cree land. But now these arrow makers, when they broke away from the rest of the what was beginning to be known as Fort people, and they broke away and they began to wander along the South Saskatchewan River, Wawaskesushipi, the Elk River. The north side is where they wandered, because on the south side was being kept solid by Makatayak, Big Bellies, Grovant, Pawastiguinuak, Rapids people. And they were staying on the south side of the river, the higher areas, to watch that the Crees didn't come into their turf. Right up past, right up to Swift Current, past Swift Current. They were the eastern wing of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Grovant. Yeah. So anyway, right there where that
Power station is?
What is it? They north of Swift Current, they call it some name now, Sask Crossing.
Swift Current?
Yeah, north of there, at the river. There's a...
Rosetown?
No, right here. This crossing right here. Right there was a place called nêhiyawak, right where just over on the north side, on the north side, heading south, on the right side, it would be, there used to be about a 30-foot geyser would shoot up out of the ground. Nêhiyawak, right here, where the bridge is now, just close there. There was a 30-foot geyser about there would shoot up out of the ground. So that's what it was known as, nêhiyawak. So these arrow makers are traveling this area now, and they're breaking the treaty, and that's how come they got into the Blackfeet lost a lot of people over here. Right here, they came on a raid. They were going to do away with the Crees. They didn't know that there was so many Crees over here. Where's that elbow again? I mean elbow, yeah. Yeah. Okay. In this area here, this is called Paint Hills. y-dialect. You could get any kind of paint you wanted here. y-dialect. Yeah, Paint Hills. You could get any color of y-dialect, earth paint. There was any color you wanted, you would get there. But anyway, but along the river more here, these coolies. These coolies here somewhere in there, the scouts. Some of the scouts that were out buffalo hunting seen a whole bunch of warriors coming along the river. And they were Blackfeet warriors, Bloods, Blackfeet, whatever, numbering about, they said about 600, them, in their estimation, long ago, from the old people relaying it to each other, eh? Now, these ones were going to settle the score of how these guys were wandering in their territory, according to a treaty that had been made. So they decided to come and make amends and take it into their own hands and straighten this out. But they got seen by the Cree scouts, and the scouts came back, some of them, and they 6 to 7 miles of nothing but teepees, Crees. The warriors of all the bunches all got together and they came over here, and in the coulee over here, they annihilated all of those Blackfoot warriors. And they figured it out that those Blackfoot warriors would be coming up a coulee. Now, which side? That's a good question. I don't know.
It's flooded now.
But they annihilated a whole bunch of Blackfoot warriors. Yeah, there was nothing but their dead Blackfoot warriors, because they had their arrows, and those Blackfeet were in the middle, and they waited till all of them were into the coulee, and they were all the warriors of the combined Cree groups, annihilated them all. So from there, after all that, the arrow makers had clear sailing going on the north side of this land, South Saskatchewan River. And they'd go up to the Snake Nose Hills, but then they'd angle to the Eye Hills. And that would be Saddle Lake, Alberta, Frog Lake, nêhiyawêwin, but some of them came east. That was Kawakatus, Daystar, and those guys. Yeah, Little Black Bear was a part of that group.
Barry, it breaks my heart to
Arrow
say
makers.
this, but we need to thank you for everything you've shared with us. I've learned more about the history of this country than I think is in any book.
There's nothing in the book.
This is amazing what you've done for us here. Do we have time for questions there, Jeff?
You know, we are technically in a health break, but I know that people will want to ask some questions. Now, Jana Pratt here asked a question. Hopefully she's still on so she can hear the answer. She asked, can you ask Barry to talk about the buffalo jump and the teepee rings by the Chilated?
Where's it written?
It's in the chat here.
By her Chilated, please. I don't know. Jana, are you still there? No. Sugar Hill and Gordon and Kawak areas point to see buffalo. What about Last Mountain? Sugar Hill and Gordon and Kawak area points to see buffalo.
Maybe about the buffalo jump and the teepee rings. Maybe that might just be a good place.
Is there
if that rings a bell?
Yeah, are there any bells being rung for you there, Barry, when we talk about buffalo jump and teepee rings by her Chilated?
Herschel?
Herschel? Maybe.
Herschel, there's a lot of old things around Herschel. Stone effigies all over that Snake Nose Hills. Right from Leader there's that medicine wheel at the border on the Saskatchewan side. Great big medicine wheel. And then further north along the Snake Nose Hills, there's a big stone man effigy or whatever, I don't know how you'd say it, but, and then turtles, different places, all the way going north on those Snake Nose Hills. But Herschel, yes, there's a big amount of things around Herschel. Stones that are piled up for this and that, yeah.
Yeah, there's a, when we drill in here, it says there's a Ancient Echoes Interpretive Center. There's now a park there. There's a lot of pictographs, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, some they drew patterns in the stone there.
Yeah. That's in history. Yeah, that's there. Yeah. But as far as buffalo jumps go, they had buffalo jumps here and there, different places all over the place. But a lot of them made buffalo pounds. Buffalo pounds, like I talk about Chimaskus, Chief Shortstick, the head chief of that Fort Capel, north of Fort Capel, all the way to the Missouri River and back again to Moose Jaw, north to this area here, the Elbow. He was the head chief of that area, but he'd have nothing less than 300 lodges following him, this fellow. And if you estimate that 10 people to a lodge, that's 3,000 people. And there was times he'd have 1,000 lodges following him. People that would join in and follow him because he was a provider for the people. And he actually was building 2 buffalo pounds to supply the people with buffalo food that followed him, with him and his warriors. And that's a lot of buffalo in a buffalo pound. You'd have at least 30, 40 head of buffalo in each pound. But he had big followings, so everybody would have buffalo meat. Yeah, so he'd build 2 pounds at a time, buffalo pounds, to supply his people with meat. And the reason why we know about him so much is because they were gathering at the Elbow, the spring gathering, and also he'd come north to the meetings that the central chiefs would have, like Mr. Oasis and Ahtahkakoop and Red Pheasant and Sweetgrass and these other chiefs they'd have with the Blackfoot Confederacy. Wilkie, Saskatchewan is known as Ahtahkakoop, where all the people rode in with horses.
Where? Sorry?
Wilkie.
Wilkie. Where's Wilkie?
Wilkie, Saskatchewan. That's just south of North Battleford.
You were doing so much better than me.
South of North Battleford, Wilkie.
Here.
Wilkie, yeah, right here. Ahtahkakoop. Wilkie.
What's that mean?
Where all the people rode in with horses. The Blackfoot Confederacy rode in from the southwest. The Crees came in from the east, the southeast, the east, the northeast, and the north, and the west, northwest. And that's where they had a great big gathering to discuss peace.
Oh.
And this Chimaskus I was talking about, the chiefs, he said he come from the south area to come and sit with the chief Mr. Oasis and Ahtahkakoop and all these other chiefs to sit with these confederacy. And then the following year, they rode all the way, all their chiefs got together again that were there, and they rode all the way to Ahtahkakoop.
Where's that?
The Bow River Elbow. That's Calgary.
Oh.
They all went to Calgary. And because there was so many of them Crees in a big bunch, but the Blackfoot's promise was that the north side is where they gathered here, from Calgary proper, north side. Ahtahkakoop, the Bow River Elbow. Yeah.
Bull Bull River? Or
Bow.
Bow River?
Achapi is bow.
Okay.
Because over here, further west is Manachapanik. Manachapanik is where you take the bow wood from. And that's along the Bow River.
Got the.
And that's the ash tree, Achapask. Achapask is a ash tree. And it grows all along there thick. And Achapi, that's where the word Achapi comes from, a bow.
Oh yeah.
That was their favorite wood for making bows.
Ash.
Ash.
If you drop out, we will see some more questions. I'm sorry, I don't wanna exclude anybody from asking a question here. Ron Netmaker from Big River First Nation. Says he's a direct descendant from Ahtahkakoop.
Ahtahkakoop.
Uh-huh.
Netmaker, yeah.
Yeah. And they have stories of him as well as Gitchi Mokaman.
Yeah, big knife.
Come on. Oh gosh. Gitchi Mokaman, yeah.
Yeah, Kichimokoman is big knife.
Yeah.
That's, there's knives on the Ahtahkakoop. Their name is supposed to be Big Knife, yeah. And there's knives in Rocky Boy, Montana, big knives too. And there's big knives here at like they traveled and they transferred people. They followed different bands. Just like, say, nêhiyawak, for an example. One that people should understand. Nêhiyawak, his father was called Gasagohat, beats them. Now, his father and all of them grew up around Turtle Lake. Turtle Lake is by where Thunderchild Reserve is now, Mishkinako-Sagaigan. From Mishkinako-Sagaigan, when that old man died, his son, Wapimiga Gatapskawa, took over as chief, the one with the white bead around his neck. He took over as chief, and he began to wander south. He crossed the North Saskatchewan River, and he made it towards where the cut knife pound maker, Little Pine area is, and he started to be around there, and he began to move further south. And as he moved further south, he began to meet Poashimuk. Poashimuk are Assiniboines. And in their meetings together, the Assiniboine people would begin to follow. They'd change over and follow him. White bead around his neck. Because he had so many Poashimuk following him, he began to be known as nêhiyawak. The Crees changed his name to nêhiyawak, and that's how he left the name white bead around his neck. He left it behind. The rest of the Crees began to know him as Cree Shoe.
What?
Nêhiyawak.
Cree.
And as the further south he moved with his Assiniboine and Cree following, the people that joined him, like he was saying, Ahtahkakoop has stories about Ahtahkakoop and Kichimokoman. This is how the nêhiyawak began to be, and he ended up at Minatagak, Cypress Hills. And then he ended up at Piganoshipi, south. The border, the Cree border was the Piganoshipi, the Missouri River.
The Muddy River.
The Muddy River, Piganook. That was the border. Minatagak. And then on this side was Rush Lake by Swift Current. Kishichuanush is Swift Current, Swift Flowing Creek. Swift Current.
Yeah.
Kishichuanush. And then on this side is Rush Lake. That place is known as Pakstaweamunanik, where the Crees, where the people ran into the lake to survive.
Wow.
And what happened there was the warriors were all gone. And the Blackfeet came in there and they surprised the women and the old men and the children and the old ladies. So all the Crees that were camped by the lake, Rush Lake, they all moseyed into the lake towards the middle on foot.
They moseyed in.
They just walked right in to survive, because otherwise they would have been killed, eh?
Run down by.
Yeah, so they all took off into the water. Pakstaweamunani. and that's Rush Lake. But you go there today, there's no water there. There's nothing but rushes, dry.
It's amazing. So much respect for all this you've shared with us. But I'm afraid I think we need to hear. Oh wait, here's another question. My Cree is not so good. From Selena Cuevasans. Anin Sigwan Nimoshime. Uncle Miigwech for your words. Selena, I think Selena is just paying her respect there. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
I would love to hear.
Thank you very much, Barry, for coming in again and talking to us.
Yep.
In about 2 minutes, everyone should be back here, and we have Marie Gerard, who will be talking a little bit about her not-for-profit. I believe that the name is Our Land, Our Stories. And so that will be happening in about less than 2 minutes.
Let's all just take a break here. Let's just sort of we'll have time, you and I, tomorrow to continue this discussion. But for now, thank you so much.